If we could begin to take our seats, please, we're ready to start our commission meeting. Thank you. Okay, City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Good evening. Commissioner Castillo?
Here.
Commissioner Good?
Here.
Vice Mayor Schwartz is on his way. Commissioner Seifel?
I'm here.
Mayor Ordis?
Here.
City Manager Dodge?
Here.
City Attorney Gorin?
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Seifel.
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We have a long meeting. I'd like to get it done and get it done good. So,
As always, Mayor.
Mr. City Attorney, I understand there was some discussion about seating arrangements again?
Yes, Mayor. and to the
Well, I'm
extent-
gonna do it at the end of the meeting.
Yes, just to coordinate a conversation, if you will, on the record. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have our favorite, at least my favorite, Congresswoman in the whole Congress, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and she's here for an update on infrastructure. You gotta go back next week and vote on it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thankfully, the infrastructure bill is law. So I'm here to tell you about the money that is going to be available to the
We
city
like
of
that.
Pembroke Pines, because that thing is law.
Show me money.
Yeah, right. I'm here to show you the money. Exactly. Well, good evening, Mayor Ordis and members of the commission. I really appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight. I want to thank you for all that you've done to keep our neighborhoods and our residents healthy and safe. Tonight's update really is a timely one. As you probably know, last month, President Biden signed the fiscal year 2022 appropriations bills into law. That means many good things for our communities, including unlocking the benefits of the Bipartisan Infrastructure and Jobs Act, which is now law, which will bring significant federal dollars to our local communities. And this law is monumental. It will be a major driver of economic productivity in the U.S. for years to come, and a massive source of jobs and local federal funds for our community. Here in Pembroke Pines, we have a number of infrastructure projects that can help create a safer environment for our neighborhoods. We have several proposed projects in the Complete Streets Plan, which I know I've talked with really the whole commission at some one time or another on Complete Streets, and that plan is managed by the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And Complete Streets provide safe, comfortable, and convenient traveling options for all users, including additional lanes, sidewalks, crosswalks, and bicycle lanes, creating safer streets. For example, University Drive between north of Johnson Street to south of Sterling Road is an important corridor that has needed a facelift for several years. Improvements are needed on both sides of the roadway, so we can provide a physical separation from vehicle traffic for all transportation users, and the bipartisan infrastructure law will provide more funding to the Broward MPO for projects like these. Pembroke Pines also has several pump stations in need of repair or replacement, particularly on the west side of town. President Biden's infrastructure law invests significant federal dollars in the Clean Water Revolving Funds so that cities have the resources needed to make these improvements. The infrastructure law can help bring these projects from conception to reality. The law and its funding will boost our local and national economies. Across the nation, it will create millions of good-paying, union-friendly, green jobs and ensure America's infrastructure remains globally competitive. And we do that by investing $550 billion over 5 years in new projects to strengthen America's transportation backbone. Thousands of those jobs and millions of dollars in investments will show up right here in our own community. Based on formula funding alone, Florida will receive $13.1 billion for federal aid highway apportion programs. That means more resources for our metropolitan planning organizations and a better chance to get your transportation priorities funded. I mean, Mr. Mayor, you've been the chair of the MPO. Are you still the chair of the
Yes.
MPO? So you're currently the chair of the MPO. No one knows better than you really what the upcoming projects are, and that infusion of resources is going to be significant to speeding those up. In addition to the significant boost in formula funding, there are billions in competitive grants for local governments. Let's start with roads, because I don't need to tell anyone here or anyone behind me how badly we need better travel options in South Florida. We live that every day when we are driving around. These dilapidated roads cost each driver an average of more than $400 in added repair costs annually. So with this law, we help our families cut costs. We've also seen commute times increase by 12% in the Sunshine State since 2011. We can cut that travel time and repair costs, and this bill gives us the tools to do it. For example, Congress invested $7.5 billion in the RAISE grant program. Now, you might remember the RAISE program as Build and Tiger grants in previous bills, and we've seen in our own backyard how Broward County used this grant to expand bike lanes and improve all types of transportation. Florida will receive $49 million every year for the next 5 years for bridge rehabilitation and replacement. The Florida DOT has said that those funds will be going directly to local governments. Now, I know how important that is, because when you have those funds first go through the state and you're sitting and waiting for them to be sent down to you, it's extraordinarily frustrating. So we always push as hard as we can to make sure that they go straight to local governments, and that's what these funds will do. In addition to formula funding, local communities will have opportunities to pursue grants through a new $12.5 billion bridge investment program. Not only does this new infrastructure law look to revitalize our existing infrastructure, but it also anticipates the effects that climate change will have on our transportation resources. Florida is particularly vulnerable to the consequences of climate change and sea level rise. I always tell my colleagues in Washington that in Florida, climate change and its impacts are not a someday thing, they are a right now thing. And we deal with flooding when it's sunny. We deal with flooding when there's king tides, and even in our western neighborhoods where you have a lot of backup because of all the way the outflow goes and runs through from the canals and all the interconnected water systems. So it's a particular problem here. And to support state, local, and tribal governments, Congress created a new competitive and formula grant program called the Promoting Resilient Operations for Transformative, Efficient, and Cost-Saving Transportation, or the PROTECT program, because we do love our acronyms in Congress. The PROTECT program includes $7.3 billion in formula grants that will be distributed to states and $1.4 billion in competitive grants to help states and local agencies improve evacuation routes. Now, I know we've been in a situation so many times where we have a hurricane bearing down on us. We have some confusion sometimes on whether and who should evacuate, and if those evacuation routes get clogged and difficult to travel on, then we have a real problem. So getting those resources here so we can make sure those roads are not clogged is critical. The competitive grant program part of these funds projects that we will help coastal communities and ecosystems prepare for and recover from extreme weather, climate hazards, and changing ocean conditions. And even though Pines is not on the water technically, we know that there's an impact either way, because we are essentially surrounded by water, and even inland communities like Pines are impacted. South Florida is also in desperate need of significant investments in eco-friendly public transit. Thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law, Florida will see $2.8 billion over the next 5 years pumped into improving and expanding transit options like buses and trains. Local governments can apply for funding from the Federal Transit Administration for low and no emission public transit buses, and for the development and enhancement of bus-related infrastructure. School districts can also apply for funding assistance to buy low and no emission school buses from the EPA. If we're on top of it, these funds can pay for a lot of new buses. The low or no emission programs are funded at $5 billion each, and the bus infrastructure program is funded at $2 billion. And as more Americans switch to electric cars, Florida will be part of the Biden-Harris administration's new national charging network. You may have seen recently that Florida received $30 million to build out a national electric vehicle charging network. Local governments like Pembroke Pines will be able to apply for competitive charging and fueling infrastructure grants as well. Once we drastically expand public transportation and have more widespread use of electric vehicles, we can make real strides towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And I know how committed we all are to achieving that. This legislation also invests in human infrastructure. As we now know, broadband access is critical for work, school, even for virtual doctor's appointments. That's a public safety necessity in a pandemic. And I know how we all got very familiar during the pandemic with virtual interaction, and there's a lot of people, more than you would think, that can't afford access to broadband. Internet access has to be affordable for every family if we want to close that digital divide. I don't want to see any more students sitting outside their McDonald's to get access to Wi-Fi because their family can't afford the access to broadband. So that's why we provide $14.2 billion to help low-income households afford internet services. This program, and I want everyone listening to the sound of my voice to be aware of this, this program will provide eligible families with $30 a month to be used for internet services and a one-time discount of up to $100 to purchase a laptop, desktop computer, or tablet. So for anyone listening, call your broadband provider tomorrow to see if you qualify for these discounts, or go to fcc.gov/ACP. In closing, another noteworthy benefit to Florida is that the new infrastructure law doubles the current level of federal investment into our coastal ports and inland waterways. That'll aid our own economic engine by speeding up the Port Everglades expansion. That will help generate more jobs from people in South Florida and strengthen our supply chains, a critical component of reducing inflation, and we can move more product from ship to shelf for all of your residents. In the long run, this is how we bring down costs. But many of these grants are competitive. So that's why I'm here, because we need to act fast. To bring this money home, we must first get in the game by applying for the competitive grants. The Biden administration recently released an implementation guidebook for local communities. That's a useful tool for you moving forward to help you navigate all of these programs. I'm your partner in this effort, and my office is here to provide you with all the resources you need and all the support you need as well when you go through that process. And I know our teams have already spoken. We're happy to follow up and walk you through what we know about the application process for the grants I've mentioned, or any other ones that you might be interested in applying for. And I look forward to beginning a dialogue for our partnership in bringing much-needed infrastructure investments that create jobs here in our community. So thank you again for the opportunity to address you tonight, to bring you up to speed on all that is available for the city of Pembroke Pines, and it's such a privilege to represent this community in our nation's capital. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, now or in the future.
Thank you, Congresswoman, and thank you for being such an advocate for us.
You're welcome.
Every time I go to some function, you're there, and when I see you on TV, also addressing. So any questions to our great Congresswoman? Anybody?
Mayor?
Commissioner Seipel.
Yes, not a question, actually, but your presentation was pretty thorough. And it hit on all of the issues that we consistently talk about up here, that are issues that we need help with. Yeah. And so, when you're saying that there's X number of dollars here and X number of dollars there, that's fabulous. But what I really like was how you described the difference now in the method on how some of these monies are going to come directly to us, because that has been sort of a bone of contention for a while, is that, yeah, the money gets allocated, but it could sit for a long period of time, right, while we need it. So I'm very happy to hear that there is a little bit of an expedited method for that to happen. But I think that when you represent us, I think the reason you've been so very successful with your constituents is that you hit on all of the points that are important to them.
Thank you.
And quality of life has always been at the top of the realm. However, if that's infrastructure, if it's you just talked about technology and monies, and that's fabulous. That is fabulous, because I agree with you. No kid should have to sit outside of McDonald's to just be able to do their schoolwork or something like that. That's crazy. That's, in this day and age, that's crazy.
Absolutely.
But really good stuff. So we can never quite say thank you enough.
You're welcome.
And I think when you go up there, I think I'm allowed to say this, you kind of give them hell when you're up there, and that's kind of that's kind of cool. We like strong women up there. So
when they deserve it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further questions? Commissioner Good?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, Congressman, I just want to say, the mayor mentioned that, he sees you everywhere, and that's so true.
Thank you.
And when I see that, I don't see you getting out there just getting out there, saying things, I actually see you doing a listening tour. Because that's the value when you're out there with the public, is listening to your constituents within your district. And it's so appreciated, because when you go back to Washington, it's your district vision or views that you bring with you, that help us. And really want to thank you very much for everything that you do and all that you sacrifice to do for us.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, we all run around together and make sure that accessibility, so that our constituents know that they can communicate with us, and that we're not just sort of sitting up on high, you on the dais, me in the nation's capital. That's the only way that we're going to be able to hear from the people we represent and take their concerns back. And so that's why I wanted to come and just make sure that you knew what the opportunities were. And as a member of the Appropriations Committee and who chairs an Appropriations Subcommittee, I'm in a really specific, good position to be able to make sure that our funding priorities are met. And so I'm very fortunate to work with your staff. Your city staff is really so top-notch, so professional, and we really have such a good, I know my staff has a really good working relationship with Mr. Dodge and Mr. Gorin and everybody here. So we're always ready to go to bat for you.
Thank you very much, and get the money here.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. You asked for it, and I'll swing my bat. I promise.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Congressman Deborah Schultz. Okay, now we have Representative Robin Bartleman. She's going to give us a post. Does that mean it's over?
Not yet. We have one more week of special session.
I thought I saw a post.
It is post.
Representative, please give us your.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm very happy to speak with you about what happened this legislative session. Before I do, I want to thank your city staff. Before session started, we sat down with the mayor and your city manager, Charlie Dodge, and we talked about what appropriations we were going to go for, and I'm happy to say that we got full funding for our appropriation. You have a clear vision of what you're going to do with the Howard Foreman complex, and my job was the independent living facility to get the money for the infrastructure, and I was able to deliver that. Knock on wood, it has to be signed still, but it's very exciting. I also want to say that Mr. Gorin and Mr. Dodge were available to me. I'm on the Local Affairs Committee and State Affairs Committee. So all the preemption bills and all of those bills that came before me, I would get on the phone with them like in the morning, sometimes at 7 a.m. before my meeting, to say, how does this impact Pembroke Pines? What can we change? What can we do? So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. I also want to let the residents of Pembroke Pines know how lucky they are to have each and every one of you. That you guys are truly amazing. Everything you do for this community. You have Kids Day coming up. We were out at the birthday party, which was amazing, and just all the services you provide and all of your advocacy, all of your phone calls to me to make sure I'm doing what I need to do, and all of your community outreach make all the difference. And congratulations to your Officer of the Year. I don't know if you've honored her yet. We were at the PBA breakfast last week, and one of the top 3 was your officer, so it was very exciting. So to go over, I'm going to go over the bills that I was able to pass this session. And I wasn't unable to be here, but this city did something amazing. You honored Mia Marcano, which meant the world to her family, to Marlon and Enya. And I know you met her because she was here. She actually flew in from the Virgin Islands. Mia went to Flanagan High School. Many of us went to her memorial there in the butterfly release. 19 years old, dropped off at her apartment in Central Florida for her to attend college, just like all of us drop off our kids. I dropped off Sarah at her apartment at UF. I didn't ask any questions. I signed the lease, and we went shopping at Target to coordinate her apartment and her bedroom, and that's all I thought about. And that's all Mia's mom thought about. And unfortunately, the maintenance worker who worked there was stalking Mia. At 2 o'clock, he used his master key to enter her apartment to set everything up. At 5 o'clock, he returned, and he did the unthinkable. And the only reason they were able to find her is the pings on his cell phones. They were able to recover her body. And he was not brought to justice because he was a death by suicide. So after meeting the Marcano family, Senator Stewart and I wanted to do something because there are 2 million renters in Florida. A lot of our children are at these college apartments. What can we do to protect children? What can we do to protect the renters? None of us ask, do you do a background screening on the people who have a master key? There's no requirement for that. We never ask, is there a key log? How long do they have to come in? So what Mia's law does is it creates a requirement for a background screening. This is very important because our killer had a felony in his background. 2 days before my bill passed, a grandmother was raped in Kissimmee by a maintenance worker who was on probation for aggravated assault with a master key to everyone's apartment in that complex. So it requires a background check, it requires logs, and it requires 24-hour notice so that everybody who lives in Florida, including the renters, feels safe in his or her home. That's awaiting the governor's signature. Senator Jones and I passed a bill to address healthcare disparities. It requires ACA to collect healthcare data by ethnicity, disability, primary language, sex, things you think they should be collecting. And why do they need to do that? Because you need to address individuals' healthcare needs precisely. And this data helps them do that. It helps them address healthcare disparities. We saw it with COVID. We know that people's needs aren't being met and tax dollars will be spent wisely. And most importantly, the Congresswoman talked about inland flooding. You know, last year I passed a bill, House Bill 201, part of the Speaker's package, to deal with sea level rise. I was very proud of that. By the way, for everyone, I hear there's a thunderstorm warning. I got the alert on my phone. July 1st, I spoke to Representative Mercinger. The mobile pumps that we got funded last year are going to be here, so we can move those around to help people. That's very exciting. But the big bill that I worked with Broward County on is House Bill 513. The reason why inland flooding is so important is because there are 2,600 canals, levees, gates, pumps from Orlando down. It's called the Central and Florida Flood Control Project. It's 72 years old. It's an aging system. It's a failing system. There are 18 floodgates. All of our water, except for the water that's in the C11 canal here in Broward County, heads east to the ocean. They have to go out those floodgates. The problem is sea level rise is impacting the floodgates. It's about 2 to 3 inches, and sea level will rise above the gates. They will be unable to open, and the water will be unable to drain out. That's a huge problem. People think that's going to impact the coast. No, it's going to impact us because our water has nowhere to go. So what we did is we created a bill to create a system of accountability. We don't even own the system. The federal government owns it, the Army Corps of Engineers. We don't manage the system. The South Florida Water Management District does. They have known about this since a report in 2009. Very little has been done. In 2018, 2019, there was a press conference by Senator Scott and Senator Rubio. It got out there, nothing was done. This bill creates a system of accountability so that every year a report is given regarding what's going on with that system, where the gaps are, where the funding needs are, what's going on with the study, so that when I win the lottery and move to Ireland in like 10 years or 5 years, whoever's in my place cannot say, I did not know about this. We got a lot of publicity. We were on every news channel. We had every news conference. We were in every paper, front page. Now nobody talks about it. So what this does is every year, everyone will get a report to hold them accountable to make sure that this is fixed. I also received $2 million to expedite the study, which I'm really excited about, and we're working with, the county's working with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz' office to get some additional funding because we only have till about 2035, according to Dr. Gerardo, to fix those gates. So I was very excited about that bill, bipartisan bill with Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez. I received a lot of funding for a music society, but I already spoke what I got for you guys, the big project you wanted me to do. And I want to talk about the bills that impact you now. One, you're allowed to prohibit smoking at parks and beaches now. Believe it or not, they're not going to preempt you from doing that, which is kind of crazy. Some cities already have that, but if you do not have that, you can start doing that. Number two, this is what I was on the phone with your staff and your attorney about, and the mayor and all of you actually, the preemption of all preemption bills that will allow business to sue you, that they'll have a stay in their ordinance. That did pass. It was able to go through the committee process, and we were able to soften the blow. It's still there, but it's still a very dangerous bill, and it preempts you from doing what you need to do for the residents. Not only that, for the first time, businesses can sue you, and recoup damages. And if they choose to sue you, your ordinance is at a stay. So when I went to Tallahassee and I spoke about it, I said, could you imagine if we had laws like that? That the minute one person objects to it and files a lawsuit, we don't get to enforce the law. The law is just sitting out in the middle of no man's land. And then all the people who sue us, if we lose, we have to pay all their legal bills. It's a little crazy. And the point is they like to preempt you. And I believe that you are the local elected officials closest to the people. You are out on these streets. You are in this community. And you are the ones who should be making the decision for Pembroke Pines and not anybody else. So I fought against that. Of course, it passed, but we're working on it. Cybersecurity, I'm sure Mr. Gorin is paying attention to this. It requires you to report cybersecurity incidents and participate in cybersecurity trainings. So I'm sure your staff has already started putting this in place. It requires a public records exemption for that. And so there are a lot of legalese around that. I'm sure you've already looked at the bill, but it's a serious issue with data breaches and people stealing public information. So those are the main bills that'll impact you. I don't want to take a lot more of your time. I do want to take a minute. I have a new Bartleman family. I want to introduce Stephanie, who is my new district aide. Stand up.
Hello,
Say
Stephanie.
hi, Stephanie.
Welcome.
Stephanie, ella habla español perfecto. So cuando usted, personas en Pembroke Pines, tiene problemas, por favor, habla a mí, llama a mi teléfono, y Stephanie habla perfecto. Mi español no es perfecto. Es muy mal, pero yo practico todo el tiempo. Stephanie, she's got it. Call her. She will be able to help with everything. And Tom, who is my new district aide, so come on in, say hi to Tom.
Congratulations.
And we still have Sam from the Charter High School, Bella from Silver Shores. I still have all of your students working in my office. And I cannot thank you each enough. All of you are always in your district. You're always helping your residents. You're always there. And this city is very lucky, and I just want to let everyone out there know that. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Questions?
Questions?
Questions for our representative? Comments?
Mayor?
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes, thank you. I know that you mentioned a little bit about the out west water drainage as well as the Congresswoman did mention it as well. But the portable pumps is huge. But some of the biggest issue was dealing with the seepage, which was a huge problem that, coming from the Everglades, coming back in, going in the canal and going right back there again, we were never getting rid of it. It just kept coming back into the communities. And that did, what we found out that was one of the largest problems that we had, and you were able to get with the powers that be and make some changes. And
all of us, because you put a pretty penny up for that too, for the residents of Pembroke Pines, so they know it was a joint venture with you and the state, and I was able to secure the state money, but without your staff doing their homework, we would be pumping water out, and it would keep coming back in, and there's going to be $1 million pump station now to protect people's homes, and that's thanks to all of you.
Yeah,
so
that was
thank
very
you.
cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Good evening, Representative. Good evening, Congresswoman. I'm going to address the both of you in the same way. Homeowners insurance, flood insurance.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Flood insurance, homeowners insurance. We've got to find a way to mitigate the cost of hurricane insurance in the state of Florida by expanding a region, Gulf states and maybe up to North Carolina, to relieve communities being hit by storms. If, God forbid, South Florida had as many hurricanes as Louisiana has in the last 4 years, I don't know if there would be a place that would be even affordable to live in. The state, going to the state representative, the state has failed us again with Citizens Insurance. Currently, property values are rising, great. However, insurance rates are rising even faster. In the last 4 years, you can expect a 40% increase. The next 2 years is another forecast of another 10%. It's to the point now where renters can't afford because landlords can't pay. This is an economic crisis from an insurance standpoint. With respect to flooding, the federal government certainly needs to do its part around Lake Okeechobee. The Army Corps of Engineers, to my last understanding, haven't really done much about the southern bank of the lake, which is setting us up for another Lake Pontchartrain, like happened in New Orleans, in the event that that they're unable to lower the lake in time to go ahead and pump out the water. So if we have 2 or 3 inches on the East Coast now, if we have a heavy rainfall, say in June, and we're holding a lot of water and we can't get it pumped out, if we wind up with a hurricane coming from a certain direction, now we're going to have a breach, and that breach will certainly impact Pembroke Pines, Weston, Bonaventure, everything along the Sawgrass, whether or not it's going to actually hold the water. This is real. I think if you look at the city of Fort Lauderdale, you look at Las Olas, they're actually using pumps in the driveways now. Every month, when the moon gets big, they have swimming pools in the front yard. So you look at Miami, same thing. It is real, like the Congresswoman said. It's happening in Florida now. With respect to Representative, the work that you've done, man, all-star, rock star. I cannot thank you enough for the amount of time that you spend with us is tremendous. And Congresswoman, you're always here for us. It's great to know that state and federal government can be at the local level because the residents know you. So thank you again. Keep up the great work.
I just want to comment on special session because we are going. You're right. There was a bill that was put in the House that did not move. We were busy dealing with everything else, but we did deal with the number one issue, which was home insurance. That bill did not make it over to the House side. There are some problems with the bill. One of the things they wanted to do was, which you can't do this in this economic time, was charge homeowners more money for insurance, a premium based on the age of their roof and for full replacement costs. Now, the Insurance Commission kind of got around that rule another way, but that was a real problem. So I was one of the, thanks to my delegation, we wrote enough letters to ensure that there was going to be a special session, which is in 2 weeks, to deal with insurance. The major things I'm hearing, I knock on doors in your community, I was just in one of your communities out west, is one, there are people who are in the middle of insurance claims right now, literally with tarps on their roofs. Either their insurance company went insolvent or they dropped them, and they cannot get citizens now because they are in the middle of a claim. And that is very scary for these people because they're not getting their roof fixed, and they are not also able to secure a policy to protect their home for this hurricane season. So I'm scheduled a meeting with staff to see what can be done about that. The second thing, our property values are going through the roof, which is great, but if you cannot get any homeowners insurance except citizens, there is a threshold in Broward County for $700,000. In Dade and Palm Beach, that's at $1 million. So there is no parity. So we need to make sure that everyone has access. And the biggest issue is reinsurance. All the insurance companies have insurance themselves, and there are a handful of companies that are worldwide. They are being strained because it's the wildfires in California, the tornadoes in the central part of the country. It's what happens in Louisiana, all of that. We're all going through the same reinsurance company. Those reinsurance rates are happening in June. They're going to pass those to the insurance companies, what their rates are going to be. That's going to be passed on to the local consumer. And finally, the fraud. I can tell you, I know people who have all gotten roofs, and I'm like, where was the storm, right? That's a problem. I'm paying for my own roof now, but there has to be a balance. It cannot be all the insurance industry and not the homeowners, because there's plenty of people who have legitimate claims, and they cannot be put in a position where they can't fight to get the money to fix their house. So that's going to be a very delicate balance. So in order to do this, we have to deal with all of those issues. Charlie Crist did propose a catastrophic insurance fund at one point, and that stabilized the market. We passed the bill last session. It's been almost over a year now, and we haven't seen any results from that. I can tell you what my caucus is going to do is whatever we do, we want to guarantee that we're going to protect the consumer. We don't want to save the insurance company money and not have them pass that down to our neighbors. We need to make sure that the consumers get relief now. In terms of affordable housing, there's an affordable housing conference going on tomorrow. I will be there. There's a list of bills. And by the way, inside my newsletter, most of you get it. If you don't, go to just contact me at Robin Bartleman. We'll add you to the newsletter list. We have affordable housing resources, but here's the problem. You have a nurse that lives here in Pembroke Pines. She's a single mother with 2 kids. She contacted my office. Her rent went up $500. She doesn't have a dime. She cannot afford a $500 increase, but she makes money. So she also isn't going to get any assistance. So there's a list of 5 or 6 bills. We signed a letter. I posted it that we proposed last session to deal with the what's happening with rent and how that's skyrocketing. We asked them to expand the special session to include rent. And I want to also very quickly, before I forget, to everyone out there who has insurance on their home, you need to call your insurance company and make sure you're getting your mitigation credits. What does that mean? They need to come out and inspect your roof and make sure you have straps. If you have a Ring doorbell, that's a mitigation credit. If you have an alarm system, that's a mitigation credit. If you have shutters, if you have hurricane windows and you've had them installed recently, that is a mitigation credit. People are not taking those. Lucky for me, my insurance agent, Alan Edwards, is the president of the association. I'm always on the phone with him, and he says that's the one thing they find is that people are not taking those credits, which will reduce that premium. There are also a lot of people in Pembroke Pines, and I get this call all the time. They are retired residents who own their homes outright. They are on a fixed income. They could not afford their insurance. They do not have mortgages, and they are just riding it out with any insurance right now. And that scares the heck out of me because everything they have is in that house, and they will lose everything. So we get that. If you contact my office or contact me, we get you in front with a consumer affairs advocacy group. We will help you do whatever we can to secure that insurance. My phone number for everyone out there, 954-668-3662, robin.bartleman@myfloridahouse.gov. Stephanie, Tom, and I are here to help you. We will take all your calls. We will do everything we can. That's how I knew I couldn't help that nurse, because she did not qualify when you start looking into things, and something has to be done. So I'm meeting with Nan Rich Friday, who's a huge advocate. She's your county commissioner, to see what we can do, because it's scary for people right now. My daughter, you guys know, she's a 2nd grade teacher, very exciting. She cannot afford an apartment.
Okay.
She lives at home. So do her friends who are beginning teachers. So do their boyfriends who are firefighters in their first 2 years of out of the fire academy. Police officers, they're all coming back home to live with you, which is great because I really like having her there. But she wants to leave the nest, but there is no place for her to go. That's right. So it's very sad. I am so happy I took a lot of your time. I just can't thank you enough. No, thank you for bringing that. I meant to touch on that. I appreciate everything you all do. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Ms. Bartleman. Couple of proclamations now. Bye, everybody. Thank you. I'd like to call down for our first proclamation, Marilyn Lieberman, part of Nami Broward Advocacy Group. And we have a proclamation for you on behalf of Mental Health Awareness Month. And our proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Nami's Broward mission is to bring awareness and programs to Broward County in support of a world-class treatment and recovery system for people with mental illness and their families. NAMI Board works to provide support, education, and advocacy to promote better outcomes for people living with mental illness. And whereas good mental health is critical to the well-being of individuals, families, communities, schools, and businesses. And mental illnesses are medical illnesses. Good health care includes mental health care. Additionally, the earlier the treatment, the better the outcome. And whereas mental illnesses are no one's fault and are common and treatable, 1 in 5 adults will experience a mental illness in every given year. Half of all mental health conditions begin by age 14, and 75% begin by age 24. And whereas the depth of the mental health crisis among children under age 18 is staggering, the COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated it. In the first half of 2021, Children's Hospital reported a 45% increase in the number of cases of self-injury and suicide. This exacerbated impact of the pandemic on mental health is significant for adults too. And whereas half children and half adults living with mental illness never receive life-changing treatment, stigma around mental illness often prevents people from seeking treatment. Research shows that most effective way to combat stigma is through personal contact with someone living with a mental illness. And whereas increasing awareness and understanding of mental health conditions reduce stigma and discrimination that pose barriers to well-being, and also promote appropriation and accessible services for all people with mental health diagnosis. And whereas race, gender, age, sexual orientation, identity, language, socioeconomic status, values, and beliefs are among factors which affect our mental health conditions and are perceived and experienced, and is essential for these factors to be part of the conversation on treatment so that shared community can be a source of strength and support. And whereas many people with mental illness make important and valuable contributions to our communities and are able to live meaningful lives. And whereas Nami, Broward County observes the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month, and to raise awareness of mental health, to encourage those living with mental health to seek help, and to be uplifted by our message, you are not alone. Now, therefore, I, Frank Schwartz, Mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim May 22nd, May 2022, as Mental Health Awareness Month in the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Congratulations. Yeah, do you want me to hold that?
Yeah, do you mind?
Not at all.
I want to thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you, Commissioners. And I know that in Pembroke Pines, there's a lot of support for people with mental illness, and I know with housing, and I know that you're stepping up and you're doing your part. But I'm honored to accept the Mental Health Awareness Month proclamation on behalf of Nami, National Alliance on Mental Illness of Broward. NAMI Broward provides empowering educational programs and support groups to families and persons living with mental illness at absolutely no charge. I encourage you to visit our website, which is www.nami, that's N-A-M-I, Broward.org. That's NamiBroward.org, and find out about the programs we have that can help families that are just finding out they have a mentally ill relative. And, you know, if you look around, there's probably quite a few people in this room that are dealing with mental illness. So that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, and I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Marilyn. Marilyn, thank you. All right, for our next proclamation, I'm going to invite our city clerk down. Marlene Graham. This is a proclamation of the City of Pembroke Pines, 53rd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of our local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies and agencies of governing at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of the neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Frank C. Ordis, Mayor of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, to recognize the week of May 1 through May 7, 2022 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Marlene D. Graham, GMC, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney. This proclamation, I just want to say that it's an opportunity for me to say out loud and say thank you to my staff, and in particular to my Deputy City Clerk, Deborah Rogers, the hardworking staff in the City Clerk Department, and the former Pembroke Pines City Clerk, Judy Nugent. And I also want to say thank you. You can applaud Judy. And I also want to express appreciation to the groups of wonderful and supportive professional city clerks around the county, municipal clerks. Broward County Municipal Clerks Association, Florida Association of City Clerks, and International Institute of Municipal Clerks. They are enormously professional, supportive, and wonderful government employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Congratulations. Okay. Any announcement of items to be pulled from the agenda, City Clerk?
No items, Mayor.
How about Commissioner Audit Report?
No Commission Auditor report, Mayor.
Appeals of the Board of Adjustment decisions?
None, Mayor.
Okay. Items at the request of the public?
We have four, yes, Mayor, we have 4 registered requests from the
Okay.
public.
Would you read them off, and they'll come to the podium, and you'll have each 3 minutes to speak, and we need your name and address, please.
The first one is Mr. Ram Tiwari. Please come forward.
Just have to press that speak button, Mr. Tiwari.
Which I gave a copy to the city clerk. I thought if I forget something, at least that will be on record.
No, go back.
Namaste and good evening. Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the City Commissioners. Also, my greetings to the City Manager, City Attorney, and Marlene Graham, City Clerk. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Ram Tiwari. I live at 8860 Northwest 3rd Street since 1988. I am a Hindu American, so that's my identity. And as you know, Hindus are in general, they are very peaceful, law-abiding, passive, and submissive. They are not very aggressive. And whatever they do, they excel professionally. So I am proud to be a Hindu American. Hindu promotes the value of peace, harmony, and human values of truth, tolerance, forgiveness, and respect to one another. I had the privilege of meeting two commissioners in a social gathering, Commissioner Tom Good and Commissioner Saiful. And that was I request you all to know us Hindus, because somehow Hindus have not been known, so I will request all of you to know us. War crimes, if left unrecognized and unpunished, only lead to more aggression and suffering. There is no better time to reiterate than today, as we see millions of people, women and children, face death and destitution. Bangladesh came into being in 1971. Earlier it was called as East Pakistan. So 1971, it became Bangladesh, and more than 50 years after the Pakistan Army perpetrated violence and sexual assault on more than 300,000 Bengali women and killed nearly 3 million people. The war crimes that were committed have not been recognized as genocide. Recognizing genocide of the past are essential to preventing violence now and in the future. Not only have the crimes have been recognized, but many of the war criminals went on to become powerful generals and administrators in Pakistan, influencing decision-making process. I call upon the council to, around the county and country, to recognize the genocide of 2.8 million Hindus in Bangladesh by Pakistan in 1971, and take immediate steps to bring it to the current and former members of the Pakistan Army who were recorded as being responsible for perpetrating the violence against women. Prominent genocide prevention watchdog.
If you could wrap it up, please.
Okay. Genocide Watch and Lincoln Institute have already recognized what occurred in 1971 as genocide. I believe that recognition by the U.S. and international community will send a strong message to modern-day aggressors like Taliban that even 50 years from now, they will be held accountable for the crimes. And by acknowledging that prejudices have led to genocide and other forms of physical and systemic violence, we are unable to strengthen the ability to institute and address the inequalities and bias. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Appreciate this time.
Thank you, Mr. Tawari.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Graham? Our next public speaker?
Mayor. Judith Pritchard,
Ms. Pritchard?
please come forward.
Need your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes as well. Good evening.
Good evening. You know I have trouble with this thing. I'm Judith Pritchard, 113 Northwest 93rd Avenue, Pembroke Pines, and I'm here to speak about the issue with BSO. And there should be a picture coming up, I hope, on the TV screens, if we can get that up, because I want everyone to see it. I took it to the back, so I hope they put it up. On August the 17th, 2017, you see that white car? That's a white Nissan. It came from the 24/7 workout on the other side. That car went straight across Pines Boulevard at 7:13 p.m. on the 17th of August, 2017, running from an attempted armed carjacking, thinking that I'm in a police car. That's why the gentleman came to me. I was COP at the time, and I was in a community on patrol car. As that car got closer to me, we heard 6 shots fired. 6. When my partner and I calmed down, we spoke to the man, told him what to do, made sure that he was okay, and then we went to the parking lot at Lowe's and we dialed 911. Gave them all the information. 4 days later, Detective Katz called me at my home and wanted all of the details to this incident that had occurred on the previous Sunday. This is Wednesday. He was just now getting the information from BSO. It's a good thing that no one was hurt, good thing nobody was shot, and good thing that man didn't get run over or cause a serious issue on Pines Boulevard. And one of the biggest issues I have with calling BSO is that I can't remember when exactly do I call BSO or the 954 emergency or non-emergency number to the PD. Now, if I'm a volunteer for the PD and I don't know, we've got a serious problem.
Thank you, Ms. Pritchard, appreciate that. Okay, City Clerk.
Carlos Marcus.
Carlos? You know the drill?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor and Commissioners. We're here because...
Your name and address.
My name is Carlos Marcos. I live at 421 Southwest 72nd Avenue. For 20 years, a resident of Pembroke Pines.
Thank you for that.
We're here because we have a major problem with our Broward County Dispatch 911 system. It has failed. It was an ambition for Chief Israel to make it, acquire a bunch of cities, and now has become Sheriff Tony's problem. There's many problems with the system since early at the beginning, and there's not enough dispatchers, and they're dispatching the calls to different cities, wrong cities. Like we had the fire on Taft and 86th Avenue. Hollywood answered the fire and put out the fire. A lot of calls are not being serviced, and a lot of calls are not being answered. We need to bring back our dispatch, which was one of the best in the county, the quickest response time we had, and we can save a lot of lives by bringing it back to our city, where it should have never left. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marcos, as usual.
George Corrin.
George?
Good evening, everyone. George Corrin. I live at 6751 Southwest 11th Street in Pines Village. And I agree with the previous two speakers. The 911 emergency response system in the county is failing us and putting our residents in jeopardy. Prior to going with the current system, our own system that we had here from the beginning, I guess, as far as I know, I've been here 48 years, worked very well. We've always had a very professional PD and still do. And I believe that we should be taking care of our own business like we did in the past. And I would like the city to take this into consideration and review it and see the possibility that we could go back to the old methods, because nobody protects things like the people that live right here. And I think our residents deserve this protection and security that this system would provide. And we shouldn't have to rely upon someone else. I think we can do this ourselves. And I'd like you good folks to take up the issue if you would, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corrin.
Mayor, last request, Sherry Williams.
Okay, Ms. Williams. Name and address for the record, and then you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Williams. I live at 8761 Northwest 10th Street in Pembroke, Pines.
Yeah, you have to get closer to the mic. You're gonna wear the mask.
Hi, my name is Sherry Williams. I live at 8761 Northwest 10th Street in Pembroke Pines. And thank you all for this opportunity to speak to you all. Most people, we all like dogs and we care very much well for them. However, some do not take interest in cleaning up after them. When you leave out the poop for the neighbors to smell all day, referring to me, and their ability and right to enjoy their own property, and can cause people who have problems with allergies and breathing issues. Now code says they do not really do anything about that because it takes them 2 days to come out and then it's been cleaned up, the poop. I ask all of you to please have a heart, understand that we need to breathe fresh air, the people that are struggling to breathe. And I'm asking you please tonight to find a simpler issue, to resolve this issue so we can all live here and breathe in our own properties. I thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have BA1, Commissioner Castillo.
Yes, thank you. So I'm very, very thankful, of course, we all are, to the residents who we appoint to advisory boards, both past and present. They've all done a terrific job, and we're very, very thankful for their work. Tonight, I'm happy to appoint Terry Burgess, who has been serving as an alternate member of the Heritage and Diversity Board as a regular member. She has lived in Grand Palms for 25 years, where she's raised her family. She's a senior practice manager at pediatric cardiology at the Jackson Memorial Hospital, which is near and dear to my heart because my daughter is also a nurse practitioner, and she's involved in cardiology as well. So I know something about how hard you work and the difficult stories that you have to deal with. She's committed to the work of this board, and we recently had a conversation about how great it would be if we could get an actual calendar of voted on events from that board that we could consider adopting as part of the budget process. And I know that we have our friend Christine in the back, and she's always got budgetary issues. She does a terrific job, and we're very, very proud of her. You don't work for Christina, you work for us. And we have resident advisory boards because we need to hear from you. And it's our job to provide the resources. So I'm looking very forward to that calendar. And it's an absolute pleasure to appoint you. Do you want to come up and say hello? Thank you. Terry Burgess.
Just press the speak button and say your name, please. There's a button right there.
My name is Terry Burgess, and I live at 15865 Southwest 6th Place in Grand Palm. Thank you, Commissioner Castillo, for this appointment from alternate board member to regular board member. And I would just like to briefly say that I look forward to working with the other members of the Diversity and Heritage Board to come up with recommendations so that we can recognize and celebrate the many vast cultures that we have here in the city of Pembroke Pines.
We look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Again.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to announce the appointment of Victor Avedon Bellow as the Board of Adjustment District 2 representative. Most of us up here know Vic. He has served the majority of his career in law enforcement. He's one funny guy, and he would say he's a stand-up guy, so tonight he stood me up by not being here. And that's an inside joke, but Vic cares deeply about the community. He cares deeply about code enforcement. He cares deeply about the residents. Mayor, I think if we had a contest of you being the biggest cheerleader and Vic being the biggest cheerleader for our city, Vic would certainly stand on his own, and I'm looking forward to the great work that he's going to bring to the board, to now Assistant City Manager Stam and his crew, and I know Vic is going to do a great job. So congratulations, Vic, and I know when you're able to make it down to the next meeting, we'll have the formal introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to appoint to the Planning and Zoning Advisory Board as a citywide mayoral alternate member, Saji Zacharias. Would you come forward, please? Mr. Zacharias is well-tuned to be a great member of this board, and it is, as you know, one of our most important boards. So when we appoint people, we have to make sure that we appoint those that their resumes fit our city, and we appoint the right ones. And so I'm confident, appointing you as alternate, that someday you'll become a full member of that board. So would you please say hello?
Hello, my name is Saji Zacharias. I'm living in 1411 Northwest 139th Avenue, that's Pembroke Falls, for the last 13 years. I'm very much privileged to be served on this board. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you all the commissioners. I assure that I will serve the best of my ability. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Do a good job.
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. It is my distinct honor and privilege to appoint for the District 2 Diversity and Heritage Advisory Board seat a member of our community who's been serving on the Diversity and Heritage Board for quite some time. One of the things that COVID had, Mayor, was an impact on my board representation during COVID. One of my members could not continue. The city clerk, despite her efforts, despite my efforts, we did everything we possibly could to fill this seat sooner rather than later. Upon learning of the opening due to a change in the District 4 seat, I couldn't help but realize that this is actually the reason why things were basically delayed, because our city is going to be honored with Elizabeth Burns, who not only served on the board, but as chair, was able to accomplish all these things during 2021. First and foremost, Martin Luther King Day here in the city of Pembroke Pines, a historic feat that has been long overdue. Black History Month has been voted on by the board. International Women's Day and International Women's Month. Senior acknowledgement, autism awareness. We have Gandhi initiative, Muslim dedication, Caribbean American Heritage Month, LGBTQ Pride Month, Juneteenth. We also have a salute to Jamaican Independence Day, Hispanic Heritage Month, Jewish celebration, and inclusion of more arts and culture, and so many other things. Elizabeth, I would love to have you come down, say hello again, and I know that not only are the constituents of District 2 excited, but our city is honored to have your continued presence. Thank you so much.
Ms. Burns, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me here today. Good evening, everyone. All protocols observed. I respect you all, and I think you guys have done a wonderful job all across the board. I'm Elizabeth Burns. I live at 18413 Northwest 12th Street in Pembroke Pines, West Chapel Trail. It has been an honor and privilege for me to serve on the Diversity and Heritage Advisory Board since 2020. Seems a little longer, but it's 2020 as a chair and then vice chair. Until now, I have been serving, and I am truly appreciative of everyone on the board. We've all grouped together as one. They all have an input on the board, and we hope that whatever we have presented a few months ago will come to fruition. I actually have seen the Martin Luther King celebration for the first time in the history of Pembroke Pines. That has happened. That is huge among all people. And so I hope and pray that whatever is on that list will also come to fruition. And I thank you all for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Burns, thank you. Okay, now we're at our consent agenda, items 1 through 13. What is your pleasure? No polls.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 2
2 for,
and number 7.
and what?
7.
Any others? All right, if not, then I'll need a motion for items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So moved. Moved by Commissioner Castillo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Good. Discussion?
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Isn't it supposed to be 13 and 14 also?
No, that's to approve the regular committee. Is that on the consent? Up, then my mistake. 14 as well, so we'll include that in your motion, Commissioner.
13 and 14.
Correct.
Correct, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, so, discussion? Hearing none, call a roll, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion.
Thank you. All right, we have item 2, Commissioner Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 2, motion to approve the purchase of a 2022 Dodge Rams from Allen J. Enterprises of Wauchula, Inc. at a cost of $33,513 each, for a total amount not to exceed $100,539, utilizing pricing established by the State of Florida Contract Number 251-00000-21-STC pursuant to Section 35.18C5 of the City Codes of Ordinance.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Seifel. Commissioner Good.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just a quick question. Are these vehicles take-home vehicles, Mr. Manager?
Mr. Manager?
No, I don't believe any of them are take-home. Regarding public services or utilities.
All right.
Okay, so, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one other question. So, I'm not opposed to the purchase, but I do want to bring out something, I think that's important for us to start changing over our fleet. I mean, we keep talking about, clean energy and things like that, and know that we're starting to move in that direction, and I have not seen anything where we are trying to purchase, EVs or anything that would be a little bit more fuel efficient and cleaner energy. So I just want to make a comment that fine for this, but going on in the future, I'd like to see that we are starting to purchase vehicles of the future.
Good point. All right, further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz? Yes. Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Good, item 7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 7, motion to approve IFB number PSUT-21-06, Pines Village Water Main Improvements Phase 2 and Septic Tank Conversion to the most responsible bidder, Foster Marine Contractors Incorporated, in amount not to exceed $12,508,814, which includes an owner contingency in amount of $601,314.02, and an owner's permit allowance in the amount of $29,500, and to approve the agreement with Zorosta LLC for payroll compliance services in the amount not to exceed $169,124.80 pursuant to Section 35.18C2 of the City Codes of Ordinances.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seifel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion? Go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor, I pulled this item specifically because I think it's important for the public to know what we are investing in our communities. This is a $12 million infrastructure improvement to a historic section of this city that hasn't had this opportunity. I also want to make note that this is also being funded by ARPA funds. Is this 100% funded by ARPA funds, Mr. Manager?
City Manager?
No, it is not. It's probably about two-thirds. I'm looking right now.
Okay.
It's about $4 million in ARPA funds and like almost $3 million in our city funds.
4 and 3 is 7. The other
Yeah, I
is
know.
coming
It's,
from next year.
What's that?
And the remaining amount is coming from next year's budget. Is that it?
Well, some of it is coming from source of funding would be coming from the 2023 because we will not complete it. There's $5 million and coming from other accounts in the year 2023 budget, the one we're coming up to, which is another $6 million.
Okay.
So the $12 million is about half and half. It's 6 for the balance of this year and 6 for the following fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. So I want to make it known, too, that because we are using a substantial amount of ARPA funds and the fact that because this project is over $10 million, we're having to provide labor services at what we would call prevailing rates and what federal government would otherwise know as Davis-Bacon rules. I want to make it clear that what's most important about that is that it allows for this project to draw from local companies, local labor force. So not only are we providing an infrastructure improvement to the total of $12 million to our historic community, we are also providing substantial job opportunities for folks that are within the local area. So I just wanted to call that out. I didn't want that to go by under a consent item. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Seifel.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of discussion with City Manager, about this, and tonight's item is just specifically to award, these improvements to this particular, company. But going forward, we will have other items where we will have, I guess, much more discussion about more specifics of how all of this will play out and how it will be worked. I know this is phase 2, so we've already had that kind of a setup for phase 1 where we talked about it, and phase 2, and then we'll go on. I think there's 3 or 4 phases, I believe, if I remember, was it 3 or 4? And we'll have those same discussions at that point. Is that correct, City Manager?
I'd like Mr. Cooper to
Mr. Cooper?
provide you that exact detail.
Good evening, John Cooper, Utilities. You're right, ma'am. There are many other phases coming. This, thankfully, will complete Pines Village for the city north of 9th Street. And then we'll be going on to the other areas all around the eastern section that have the same aging water mains in the same manner.
Yeah. No, it's really, I mean, it's really a much needed, much overdue and much needed. It's really a great item. I just want to make sure that the folks know that there will be a lot of discussion about how all of this will play out, all the particulars of the phases and all that, like we've done in the past. So.
Ma'am, are you referring to having public meetings with each neighborhood?
Here on the dais, as we do and ask, have our questions asked and answered here.
Well, for future phases, yes, they'll all be bid the same way, and it'll come back to you.
Yep,
Right.
each neighborhood will get their improvements and their opportunity to talk about how it's going to be done. Yes, ma'am.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, so I am here. 15. All right, we're on item 15. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. Good evening. Item 15 is a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance number 2022-01, which is a local planning ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, authorizing the creation of a safe neighborhood improvement district pursuant to Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes,
providing for codification, creating Chapter 159 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Special Districts, creating Section 159.01 of the city's code entitled Safe Neighborhood Improvement Districts, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Public hearing, Mr. Mayor, the matters on the floor for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing.
So moved.
Commissioner Castillo made the motion for item 15. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seipel. Discussion.
Yes,
Who is yes?
that'll be Vice Mayor.
Oh, the vice mayor?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
If we can have Mr. Stam give a quick summary of what this is all about for the public, please.
That's what he was sitting there for.
Hey, Marlene, can you cue up my presentation? Thank you. Mike Stam, Director of Planning and Economic Development Department. So, Mayor, I have a quick presentation about the Safe Neighborhoods Improvement District and the ordinance that's before you this evening. Really briefly, my agenda, I'm going to talk about the purpose of this ordinance, the types of districts that are allowed by this ordinance, and then the powers that are granted through this ordinance. First and foremost, the ordinance before you tonight is a planning tool and a planning ordinance. It creates a new section in our code, 159.01. But this ordinance does not create a safe neighborhood improvement district. It just enables somebody to apply for this district. That enabling, someone would come in with an ordinance following the statute and apply for a future ordinance. This ordinance right now just provides the tool for them to apply for. Within the ordinance, within the statute, there are 4 distinct districts. And these are the items that are within these districts. The purpose of this statute is to create a planning tool for local governments, for associations, for community redevelopment agencies, to tackle environmental design issues, crime prevention issues, land use issues, and beautification items. Within the statute, 163.502, there's very specific language, and this is in your backup. The purpose of this program is to promote health, safety, and welfare, maintain property values, prevent overcrowding and congestion, provide relief for traffic, to improve or redirect traffic, provide for pedestrian safety, and reduce crime, and defend against crime. So let me talk about the 4 districts. They're very distinct, and they provide 4 different applications for the development of a district. First and foremost, every one of the 4 districts that I'm going to describe require their own separate ordinance, and that is really, really important in this. And within those ordinances, the Commission has the ability to restrict some of the abilities of that ordinance. So the first one is the Local Government Neighborhood Improvement District. So this is created by the city. It has the ability to tax up to 2 mills, has the ability to assess subject to the rules identified in 163.514, and it has the ability to receive grants. The Commission acts as the Board of Directors or can appoint a board to oversee this district. And then within the district, they also can create an advisory council. That's option 1. The second one is the Property Owners Association. Again, as in all of these, it's created by a separate ordinance. It does not have the ability to tax. It does have the ability to assess, has the ability to receive grants. The association serves within the leadership role of this group. Again, it's still enabled by an ordinance before the Commission, and that ordinance is very specific, along with the backup that goes along with it. It's a very specific plan. The third one is called the Special Neighborhood Improvement District. As I stated now, twice. It is established by separate ordinance. This one has the ability to tax. This one has the ability to assess property, subject to the terms in 163.514, and has the ability to receive grants. The City Commission appoints a board of directors of either 3, 5, or 7 members. This one is also tied to a referendum. Last but not least, and this one does not apply to the City of Pembroke Pines, is the Community Development Neighborhood Improvement District. This is specifically for areas that have CRAs. The City of Pembroke Pines does not have one, but it's in the statute. Want to make sure I went over it. Again, if we had a CRA, it could be applied for through a separate ordinance. It does not have the ability to tax. It does have the ability to assess. Again, consistent with 163.514. It can receive grants. It also has the ability to establish a trust fund. And the CRA board, wherever those CRAs exist, would serve as the leadership in this committee. Again, the city of Pembroke Pines cannot do this, but this is included in the statute. So what are the powers that come along with this? And I'm saying this now for the 5th time. Somebody, either the city or a homeowners association, could come in and apply for the Safe Neighborhood Improvement District. Within the Safe Neighborhood Improvement District application, the commission could look at the powers that they're requesting and provide restrictions. The commission could restrict themselves. The powers also enable whomever the entity is and whichever format they're using to enter into contracts, to own, convey, or manage property. They can accept grants, as I mentioned before. They can make improvements to street lighting, parks, streets, drainage, swales. They can provide better access to mass transit within this district. They can also privatize, close, vacate, or replan road systems. Commissioners, that's my summary of what the ordinance does and does not do. This ordinance before you today, again, is an enacting ordinance. It's a requirement of the statute to have this on our books if a group or the city were to try to use this tool that's provided by our legislature and the state statutes. I hope that answers all the questions, and obviously I'll be here to answer more
All right.
along with the city.
Do we still have CRA with Marty Larson? Do we still apply?
I'm sorry, say that again, Mayor?
Do we still have the CRA with Marty Larson's group?
So the CRA with Marty Larson, that's just the name of his company, Community Redevelopment Associates. It's not a community redevelopment agency.
I understand.
You know, probably a good play on words, but often confusing.
Well, we could have gone with anybody, but we've been going to his group.
Yeah, well, we use Community Redevelopment Associates for our housing programs.
Okay. All right, further discussion.
And Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Commissioner Good?
Yeah, can you just go over again, I might have not heard correctly, but the 4 district types, which ones require a referendum and which ones only need to be set up by this commission?
So the first one, this one can be set up by the commission via, again, a separate ordinance. The commission can apply for it, and then there's a plan that comes along with it. The statute lays out all the specifications that have to occur. Within this one, you don't need a referendum to establish it, but the ability to assess would require a referendum. That's one of the keys that's in section 163.514. But you don't need a referendum to tax via the 2 mills, just to do an assessment, okay? The Property Owners Association does not need a referendum, but there needs to be an association that represents a certain amount of membership, and these things are all laid out in the statute. Again, the referendum that would be required here falls back to section 163.514, and that's only within that district they would have a referendum for the special assessment. This one, the Special Neighborhood Improvement District, specifically calls for a referendum to establish.
Other questions?
Yeah, when you talk about, I believe it's District 2 or Option 2, where you talk about the property owner associations. So there are groups that are not, HOA type of circumstances, but they do formalize a community group. And I think they assign themselves to NUSA or something like that. It's a national association for these folks. Is that applicable here as well for that kind of group? You know what I'm talking about.
I generally understand where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
There are some very specific rules in the statute. I would have to look at the organization of their groups to see if they qualify and to see if they meet the requirements inside the statute. I don't want to speculate now at the dais to give you, and give you the wrong information. However, this could be a situation where they could come to the city and ask the city to create one for their area using I'll call it District 1 or Option 1. They could come to the city and request the city create it.
Yeah, but they're different. So I just need to know that, because I know there's a way that you can formally organize a group that makes a representation of a community. I just want to know if it could apply here as well. So I'd be interested to know that answer. Thank you, Mr. Stem.
Further discussion, item 50. Hearing none, call the roll, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
The Record, Mayor and Commission, the permanent number for that ordinance is number 1988 for the permanent public records.
Thank you, Mr. Stam. First reading ordinance, item 16, City Clerk.
Thank you,
City.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, if I can. This is a first reading of an ordinance. It's a motion to adopt proposed resolution number, this is a resolution on an ordinance, 2022-R-11, which is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pembroke Pines, Florida, authorizing the appropriate city officials to certify and file a right-of-way maintenance map pursuant to Section 95.361, subsection 3 of the Florida statutes as prima facie evidence of ownership of that constructed portion of Pasadena Boulevard east of University Drive, as more particularly described in Exhibit A, made a part hereof, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and finally providing for an effective date. Resolution number 16, 22-R11 on the floor for consideration. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner.
Thank you.
16.
Moved by Vice Mayor, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Seipel. Discussion. Hearing none.
Mayor, if you will allow the public to comment, just in case anyone from the public
Public
wishes to
hearing.
do so.
Comments? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Call the roll, please,
Thank you,
City
Mayor.
Clerk.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The Record, Mayor and Commission, the permanent resolution number is 3790 for the public record.
All right, now we have, item 17, motion to select an elected official to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee as required by state law.
Yep,
Mayor?
Mayor?
You heard Commissioner Seipel.
I would like to, nominate, if that's how it will be done, Commissioner Tom Good to, stay on as I believe you are it now.
I would like to do that too, so.
Is there a second?
If I may, Mayor,
Is
before.
there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Castillo. Now discussion.
Thank you. My recollection is it was going to rotate through the vice mayor spot. And I think it's an alternate, if I'm not mistaken. And I would certainly want to, there's just the one?
Just one.
City Manager?
There is an alternate. In fact, I am the alternate, but it,
Right, I'm just.
Hold on, let's get a
I'm
comment
just
from
unsure
Mr.
about
Stam.
what was.
Hold
Yeah,
on,
Mayor.
hold on.
Yeah.
Mr. Stam, you have a comment?
Mike Stam, Director of Planning and Economic Development. When this was brought up last time, obviously the state legislature required that a commissioner now sit on the city's Affordable Housing Committee. The commission thought it was in their best interest to appoint a sitting member and then an alternate member. It is a requirement of the commissioner that sits in this role to go through training sessions. So when that was discussed, that's where they picked the alternate. What the vice mayor is referring to is that it was one of the recommendations from staff that we were going to rotate. We thought it'd be wise to try to rotate it to provide it across all the districts over a period of time with the vice mayor's seat, but that necessarily wasn't what actually occurred during the motions that followed it. What we need tonight is that a member be appointed. Obviously, we'd ask for an alternate to be also appointed so that we make sure that the training sessions are being attended. It's a requirement of the statute. And then next commission meeting, we'll be bringing a resolution to formalize the entire committee with the entire membership. I hope that answers the question, Mayor.
Is there a motion for a
Mayor, could I
alternate?
amend my motion?
What's that?
Could I amend my motion then?
If it's going to be an alternate, you would make a separate one.
Yes, I was going to amend my motion to nominate Commissioner Good to be the member and Vice Mayor Schwartz to be the alternate member.
All right, hold on. I already got Commissioner Good was asked to be the delegate for
Right.
the committee, and I was looking for an alternate.
That's what I was asking for.
Okay. First, let's take them separately. I've got Commissioner Good for the seat for the advisory board committee.
Mr. Mayor, for the record.
Let's
Mayor,
go with that.
Mayor, if you will, that's the primary position of the elected.
Correct.
That would be for
Correct. So let's go with
Commissioner
that
Good.
first.
Correct.
All right, any discussion on that position?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo.
I'm going to support both,
We're on one item now. Commissioner Good.
I'm going to support both of the persons nominated, and I'm going to wish them well. And I know that this is a board with some very, very specifically laid out responsibilities. But just because those responsibilities are laid out doesn't mean that the responsibilities can't be added. And we are in a crisis right now. CBS News reported just the other day that Florida is the least affordable state in the United States in which to live. And our sector in particular is the most unaffordable area within the state. So we are the most unaffordable place likely within the United States. We need to find a way to do the things that we must under the planning rules, which is what this committee is about. But we need to get to a production schedule. We need to start talking about specific projects and where they can go and how quickly we can deal with that. Every city has that challenge, but ours has a head start because Mr. Dodge and his team have figured out over the many years how it is to bring these projects up out of the ground and have the rents pay for the debt service and still have a reserve that's sufficient to ensure that these facilities are decent and affordable and well-run and well-secured. And occasionally we get a complaint, but mostly folks are fabulously, if I might suggest it, deliriously happy with the units that they have because they're clean, they're affordable, they're decent, they're safe. They do the things that we need, and we need it for workforce housing. At our workshop visioning, Mr. Dodge made a proposal for, I believe, some townhome facilities, and that's fine. But young people today need rental. That's what they need. So I'm all for this committee. I'm all for the members we're about to appoint. But I'm very eager to see a production schedule with specific projects for how we can bring more of these units out of the ground. It is one of the top 5 issues that Pembroke Pines residents are asking us to do. So thank you very much, and I want to wish both members success with their work.
Thank you. I just want to commend Commissioner Good for being our appointee at the last one. It's been a good ride. We've learned a lot, and because of your expertise, we're doing really well, and I appreciate that. Is there any further discussion on the member?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
For the record, the item before the commission is only the nomination for the main primary member, which is Commissioner Good.
That's what I said.
I know, and for the record, there were no other nominations in the record for that position.
Okay. So call this roll, City Clerk.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'll take a motion for an alternate to that position.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to nominate and accept Vice Mayor Schwartz as the alternate for the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee.
Okay, there's a motion for
Second.
Vice Mayor Schwartz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Good. Discussion.
Quickly, Mayor, if I may, and thank you, Commissioner Seifel and colleagues. I've been in communication with some of the residents, and one in particular reached out to me not too long ago about rent increases here in the city, not for city property, but just the property management, luxury rental homes, apartments. And as mentioned by Representative Bardman, a significant rent increase. So I encouraged the constituent to speak with HUD, and HUD wrote back the following, that Florida does not have any state laws that regulate rent.
Nope.
So I think it's imperative that we include this as a part of our legislative package for the delegation this year. Something it has to stop. Certainly we have inflation, but what we have a lot of is gouging and people being ripped off and taken advantage of and blaming, pointing fingers at certain things. You can only squeeze the lemon so hard before you get stoned. And certainly, I know our residents want to have housing that they can afford. What they don't want to see is rent at $3,500 for a two-bedroom apartment. They don't want that. What we don't want in the city is one-bedroom apartments that you need to have 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. And I know Mr. Stam and I have spoken over the years about other cities that don't really participate. They choose not to, they choose to allow Pembroke Pines to take care of those that may not have the economic means. You know, for me, this is quite personal. I grew up on welfare. I stood in line with food stamps. My mother did everything she possibly could to keep clothes on our back. When I hear about a $500 increase, that's real money. That's not iPhone money. That's not Netflix money. That's like you're going to be out on the street money. The county certainly has played a role, but we need help at the state level. And I hope that Nikki Fried can take a look at gouging, rent gouging statewide. This is a consumer issue, and I think Dax is prime to go ahead and hit this hammer that it's just not going to be accepted.
Okay, so. Mr. Sam, comment?
Mike Sam, Director of Planning and Economic Development. Broward County just passed a new law. It was actually approved on Tuesday. Landlords have to give renters no less than 60 days notice prior to termination of leases for those facing rent increases of more than 5%. They passed that law just Tuesday, and we're hearing more and more laws coming forward. So just want to let the Commission know.
All right, let me just say this is an important committee, and Manager, if you could let us know when they meet, we'd all, I mean, I certainly would like to participate as an observer. All right, further discussion. All right, call a roll, please, City Clerk.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. Our report of the league, we have our league luncheon tomorrow and Lauder Hill by the lakes, Lauder Lake. You know where it is. We're going there for lunch if you could, all for our business meeting.
Yes.
Manager?
No items, Mayor.
City Attorney?
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. As an update to the last Commission meeting at which we discussed the opioid litigation, if you'll allow me to introduce Scott Weisselberg to you this evening. He's your outside special counsel. He'll approach the podium real quickly from the Koplowitz, Ostrow, Ferguson, Weisselberg, and Gilbert Law Firm in Fort Lauderdale. In the printed agenda, I'd like to read into the record so that the record reflects what's being requested of the City Commission. Essentially, the opioid litigation status will be updated quickly by Mr. Weisselberg, the end result of which would be followed by a discussion and possible motion to authorize and to direct the city's outside special legal counsel to file a new comprehensive complaint that will also include additional and previously unnamed defendants in what we refer to as the ZS Associates litigation currently pending in federal court in Miami, which, as you know, at the last Commission meeting, you authorized our special counsel to dismiss that lawsuit. We did not discuss the reasoning behind that except in private one-on-one discussions with the Mayor and the Commission. The subsequent issue, which would be to talk about the filing of a new litigation matter with the same defendant and others by Mr. Weisselberg, and to seek your approval on one other item with regard to the overall global settlement that was previously advised to you during my delivery of emails over the past week or so. So, Mayor and Commission, if you permit Mr. Weisselberg to reintroduce himself and to update you and to seek your authority to proceed, which I'll help him to craft, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. Scott?
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission. It's a pleasure to see you all again. It's hard to believe it's been almost 5 years since I was here when we were discussing the inception of this opioid litigation. There are 2 items, as Mr. Gorin has mentioned. One that's on the agenda this evening relates to a lawsuit that was filed against ZS Associates. As some of you may know, ZS Associates was a company that was affiliated with McKinsey Consulting, which was a company that actually entered into a settlement with most of the AGs around the country. That settlement was an effort by McKinsey to try to perhaps avoid another onslaught of massive litigation among subdivisions within the states around the country. And there is pending now litigation in the McKinsey case where McKinsey is trying to have some of those these new cases dismissed because of the settlements with the states. Florida is one of those settlements, and we are now dealing with some of the briefing and some of those issues in the McKinsey case, and we'll keep you up to date on where that heads. We still believe and very strongly that case will survive, and the city of Pembroke Pines will continue to be at the forefront of that litigation on behalf of other cities similarly situated. The ZS litigation started back in February. We filed the lawsuit on behalf of the city in the Southern District of Florida. During our investigation and since our filing, there have been interesting revelations, some by United States Senate oversight committees that have revealed other entities that worked in concert with ZS and McKinsey. Those entities are certainly just as responsible and participated in what was a concerted effort to deceive the public with regard to the opioid marketing and literature and the penetration that they were able to make into the medical community. There's 3 entities in particular. We're not going to disclose those at this point until the case is filed, but those entities, I can assure members of the commission, are equally culpable as ZS was, like McKinsey, to help them launch and really perpetuate a marketing campaign to support the opioid sales. So we're asking for the commission's approval today to allow us to file this new complaint, a comprehensive complaint that includes those actors that we believe are, in fact, accountable. The second item we have...
We can take Shepherd action again. Mayor and Commission, this is, you may remember at the last meeting, the Commission authorized the dismissal of the currently pending case in Miami Federal District Court, which I believe has been accomplished.
That has.
Okay, so there's no case pending, so therefore, as the city attorney's office, we cannot file a case on your behalf. It is allied to the discussion this evening, and we seek a motion to approve the authorization for special counsel to file a separate and more comprehensive litigation matter. Will that be filed in Florida or elsewhere?
That's going to be filed in the Northern District of California for very strategic reasons. Number one, the MDL that's been set up that involves this particular case is in front of Judge Breyer. He is actually the judge that is presently hearing the opioid litigation case in the city of San Francisco. Incredibly educated judge in the world of opioid litigation, and this is a very strategic choice. It's a choice that you don't typically get, to pick a forum that is going to be most advantageous to the process and to the act claims that you're bringing. But in this case, we do have the benefit of the MDL that was formed. So this case, once it's filed, will get sucked into that MDL, and we will now have a seat at that table in the MDL and try to keep the city of Pembroke Pines at the forefront of that discussion on behalf of other cities around the country. So yes, this will be a new litigation in a different jurisdiction.
That's the first motion, Mayor and Commission, if you will.
Okay, I heard the Vice Mayor first, second by Commissioner Castillo. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
No.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. The
Second item, sir.
There's a second item which is allied to the backup, which is submitted to you as a privileged and confidential delivery regarding pending litigation. And to the extent that Scott can discuss publicly that issue, it does require, this is a settlement issue, does require public discussion. If I can offer that back to Scott, please.
Thank you. As most of you know, there was another settlement achieved by the state of Florida recently that involved CVS, Teva Pharmaceuticals, and Allergan. These are major players in the opioid litigation in the national landscape. The state of Florida proactively went to those defendants and settled the claims that we brought in the MDL that's based in Cleveland. The state of Florida was able to reach a settlement, a significant settlement, and those individual settlement agreements have now been executed. They've been circulated to the city attorney's office, along with participation agreements. The request this evening is that the city of Pembroke Pines authorize the signing of those participation agreements so that it may benefit, similar to the national settlement that was achieved amongst 2,700 government subdivisions. This is a state of Florida settlement with these 3 defendants, and those participation agreements are a requirement to participate.
Moved by Commissioner Castillo, second by Commissioner Seifel. Discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mayor and Commissioner, that's all we have this evening on the public side of this conversation. We'll continue to brief you privately and also with attorney-client privilege work product and litigation pending. The federal litigation in Ohio is still pending.
It is. We're at the tail end of it. There's been a lot of settlements that have been announced, as you all know. And we are, right now, the state of Florida is in litigation and in trial, in fact, in Leon County right now against Walgreens, one of the few defendants left in the state of Florida. And we hope that in the next couple months, not only will that case be resolved, but the benefits of the national settlement and the state of Florida settlement we just discussed, those financial remedies, both monetary and non-monetary relief, will be coming to the Pembroke Pines and other cities in South Florida to provide aid and education and help for those that desperately need it. So.
Okay, you got your work ahead of you.
We do. And just on a personal note, I want to thank all of you for the confidence that you've shown, not just to me, but our legal team. The City of Pembroke Pines has taken a very meaningful taken a front seat in the opioid litigation fight in South Florida. And by virtue of these cases that we brought on your behalf to represent other cities and counties that are affected by this terrible crisis, you all should be very proud of the work that you're doing to benefit the residents here and others in South Florida. So thank you again for your time this evening, for having me, and have a great evening.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. That's all I have, Mayor and Commissioner. Thank you for listening and for your support for this item.
Good report.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I've got item 19, motion to approve the nomination of Commissioner Iris Seipel to the Florida League of Cities E. Harris Drew Municipal Lifetime Achievement Award, sponsored by myself and the Vice Mayor. Let me just add something. The E. Drew Harris Award is one of the most prestigious awards the Florida League of Cities gives out. I am so lucky to have received that award. I believe there's only about 25 persons who have gotten that award over the league's tenure. So it is an honor for us because of Commissioner Seipel's. I don't have to go through it, but her raising positive children and all the other great things she does for our community. But there are a lot of other people that want this award. So I would suggest that we, either by written notice or by phone, call and give her all the accolation we can.
Mayor, if I may?
Go ahead, Commissioner Seipel.
Well, first off, I'm very, very humbled, because I go to the meetings and I see the other folks who have received this award, and when I read what their histories and their community involvements have been over the years, I kind of feel like I pale in comparison to what so many others have done, you included, Mayor. And but it is a great honor to even be considered. And as you said, it's a very select group, and it would just be beyond if I should be fortunate enough to actually get this award. But I do want to just say thank you for even considering nominating me for this, and look forward to what it can bring, and for our city, recognition again for our city.
Good luck.
So I appreciate it.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
All right, call the roll, please, City Clerk.
Mayor, the seconder.
I make a motion. Do we make a motion? The mayor made the motion?
I made the motion, yeah.
And the vice mayor made the motion.
What's that?
Is that a motion and a second, or a motion?
Yeah, I
and
had
a
the motion, the Vice Mayor made the second.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Absolutely, yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Let me think about it for a minute. I think it might be yes.
Great. Good luck.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 20, Vice Mayor Schwartz.
Thank you. There was a typo in the title, so allow me to just open this up for discussion and possible action. Create a wall of honor for our police and civilian employees. Generally speaking, Mayor, what I'm looking at doing is a conceptualized plan. And my motion this evening will actually be to direct the city administration, the police chief and his command staff, along with members of the police department, to work with the architect for the proposed police headquarters for the public space as they deem fit. I did want to share some of my thoughts as far as what I can see conceptually what a wall would look like. I didn't really want to do the bronze thing, and I was thinking about marble, but that's also something that's that stands alone in other ways. I wanted to have something with stone and with blue, and I know that granite and quartz has a grain, has a flake, and I just think it would just be a magnificent piece. However, the city administration, police chief, his command staff, and the members of the police department see fit as to honor those who have served us. And who would go on the wall would be their determination, not ours.
Well, Vice Mayor, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to support it 100%. And long time coming. We have a lot of great officers that we have honored us, that we should honor them. Further discussion?
Yes, Mayor?
Go ahead, Commissioner Cyple.
No, I definitely think it's a good idea. And I agree with you that what's right here in our book might be a little bit far.
A little bit off, yeah.
A little bit far. I mean, we haven't actually even decided yet about a headquarters, all that stuff. But to be thinking about this, going into thought process, I think is the whole intent and the concept of it is definitely good. I would just like, as the discussions would proceed going forward, that we would have, PD input, that we would have citizen input, that we would have, all of that, the architect. I mean, there would be a lot that would go into it. So if what we're talking about tonight is the intent of going forward with this concept, then I'm 1,000% for it. So with nothing really tied to it other than going forward. That's
correct.
Perfect.
All right, further discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Cyple. Commissioner Castillo.
Thank you very much. There's no question that the sentiment is in the right place. I spoke to the police department as best I could about this. I spoke to the PBA. They are nervous about the suggestion of putting people's names on a wall. It's typically not something that's done within the law enforcement community, except for folks who are fallen in the line of duty. If what I'm voting for tonight is a concept that when the new police department goes up, honors the staff, both present and past, in a manner that the police department approves of, I can support that. Getting into some of the specifics in terms of what's written here is complicated because it does not have the support of the police community. And I took the time to ask them how, because I wanted to be able to cast this vote in the right way. One of the suggestions that I got was an art project that could depict a police officer or officers in a way that reflects the dignity and professionalism of their service. I don't know what they would come up with. I've always been a proponent when we build a new building to put a % for art aside so that a building can be not only properly adorned, but that there would be a budget there in order to pay for, a public amenity that would also make the building aesthetically pleasing beyond its impressive, we hope, design. But if it's going to be about names, I've received input from police that raises a number of issues which causes them concern. So my question is this a vote for names on a wall, or is this a vote for a tribute done together with the building of this headquarters that would be appropriate to the police department?
Vice Mayor?
I think my statement speaks for itself.
Okay.
All right. Chief, did you have a comment, maybe? Chief? Oh.
Come on down, as they say.
You know who that was. Chief, good evening.
Good evening, Kip Shimbano, Police Chief.
Your comment?
My overall comment is, I appreciate all of you thinking about the men and women that have served this city and that will continue to serve the city. I think we're still a little far out yet. We want to definitely give some input. We want the architect to give some input. But the overall broad idea of recognizing the men and women, whether that's retirees, whether that's, God forbid, one day we have to put somebody on a memorial wall, which I hope that never happens.
Yeah.
So I love the movement, the general appreciation of our people. But I think we need to probably go through a process to figure out what that's going to look like.
Okay.
So those are my comments.
Good.
So is the motion we're voting on consistent with what the chief just said?
Vice Mayor?
My comments are consistent with what the chief just said.
Okay.
Okay.
Further
I'll support
discussion?
that.
Thank you, Chief. Further discussion? Call roll, please.
Mayor, may I have a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
I don't remember who it is. Sorry, I don't remember. Got it?
Commissioner Castillo. Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Seipel?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, item addendum 2, Mayor Schwartz, Vice Mayor Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, I apologize for the add-on, but as I mentioned at the visioning budget session, the city attorney's office basically said that we were out of time. So, discussion possible action to place a charter amendment on the November 2022 general election ballot, proposing to amend section 4.01(2) of the City of Pembroke Pines Charter entitled Qualifications, pertaining to the qualifications of the city manager, to add additional language to include a minimum of 10 years of experience as department supervisor or equivalent.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it because I want to say something.
Commissioner Good?
Yeah,
Second motion.
if I could,
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
so my thought is that when City Manager Dodge makes a decision to step away, and let it be a longer time than all of us imagine that would be, Mr. Dodge. He and I had spoken some months ago regarding this item. We have some really good talent within the walls of Pembroke Pines, within City Hall. Generally speaking, when a city manager position opens up, a police chief or a fire chief may be one of those individuals that steps in that role. Our charter doesn't allow that. And with the recent promotions, and congratulations to all, well-deserved, that certainly checks off one of the boxes, but it doesn't complete the entire sphere of potential folks within our building to be able to do that. We also have, if a future city commission at some point were to go outside, any former police chief or fire chief would not be allowed under the charter. So my language of 10 years of experience as a department supervisor or equivalent, that's all I'm trying to do, is just tighten it up a little bit. And I'd like to be able to put that out to the voters in November.
City Manager? City Manager, when a city manager is being hired by the city, being hired by the commission, correct?
Yeah.
The city manager, as by charter, is hired by the...
So I would think we, as individuals, would look at the record of that individual if we're going to hire them or not. At least that's my opinion. Vice Mayor Good, Commissioner Good, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. I understand what the vice mayor is attempting to do. I don't know that I agree going this way. I don't think adding more language to the charter helps. You know, I've seen a lot of these selection processes for city managers, and me personally, I would go the other way, and I would take any restriction out of the charter, so that way that selection process or recruitment process can be discussed at this dais, and then we make a determination what is the qualifications that we're looking for, or who we're going to allow to participate. So for me, I don't agree to the language in the charter at all. I just think it should be totally removed, and we should have full rights to what that process is to select the leader of this organization.
Further discussion?
Yes.
Hold on, Vice Mayor. Further discussion?
Yes, Mayor?
Go ahead, Commissioner Seifel.
Thank you. I really understand what Vice Mayor's trying to do, and I applaud him for the thought, the thought process of doing it. The only, I have several drawbacks to it, but one is, if these are hard, fast rules that says a minimum of 10 years, there have been a number of times that I have seen where actually the really most qualified and able person to fill a certain position, say, would have only been at 8.5 or 9 years, and they're immediately hard rule, they're out. So I hate, for such important positions, I hate tying our hands that way with written words when I would think, and again, my opinion is that should we have to choose any of those positions to fill them, that we certainly would all do our due diligence and make sure that our choice is the most qualified that we have available. And also, if the availability pool doesn't meet what we want, that we don't just take someone for sake of, that we continue our search perhaps in a different way. But I hate limiting ourselves to that. I understand your intent, but I think I'm a little bit more also on the less is kind of more here for us, in my opinion.
Mayor, for discussion, Commissioner Castillo.
Yes, through the mayor to the city attorney. Is there a charter provision that says we can't appoint a police chief or a fire chief or anyone else to the position of city manager?
Not specifically.
Okay, so the premise is off, and we've never had this conversation before, and we're talking about amending the charter, and I'm having difficulty, dealing with this around a time frame. This is the kind of thing that we should really talk about. If there are concerns about the charter provisions on city manager, we should talk about them. We should talk about them not under a deadline. We should talk about them in the fullness of what our concerns are. Thankfully, we have a city manager in whom we have great confidence and who has every intent of staying. I asked him. He has every intent of staying for a good long time, and I'm happy about that. So I don't feel that there's an urgency to deal with this, and I can't support the request. Thanks.
Vice Mayor, want to close?
Sure. So, Commissioner Good and Commissioner Seifel, I hear what you're saying, but in consult with the city attorney, the concept that you're speaking of is an interim appointment.
Say that again.
Is an interim appointment. The charter is very specific. It says that you have to have a college degree. You have had to have served as a city manager or as an assistant city manager for no less than 3 years. Otherwise, we can't hire those individuals. So if what you're looking at is a concern about a 10-year commitment, well, right now we're already squeezed into a box as far as who can even be the candidates right now. And I hope this is a discussion that the commission looks at 10 years from now. And I would fully expect none of us will be here during that discussion. So what I'm looking at is just trying to cure a concern. The city manager and I have had discussions over the years about this provision that we currently have in the charter that says that the only way you can be the city manager in the city is you have to have had the title of assistant city manager. for a period of no less than 3 years. So I'm glad we're moving the ball forward by getting our organization shifted in a direction that looks towards our future. But it's still not enough to protect our future in the event that there is a change within the next 3 years. That's hence the reason why the supervisor role, and if you hung up Commissioner Seipel on 10 years, make it 3. I'm just looking at something that, when presented to the voting public, is a department supervisor with having no less than X number of years enough for a future city commission to consider. That's the only reason why I'm looking at it like this.
All right?
Mr. Mayor, if I can just
Go ahead,
one
City
item,
Attorney.
just to clarify for the record, let me just put into the record the language in the current charter to make sure that you're comfortable with the language that you're hearing about as it is discussed. Under section 4.01, the charter says the following: there shall be a city manager or entity, the city manager, who shall be the chief administrative officer of the city. City manager shall be responsible to the commission for the administration of all city affairs placed in his charge by or under this charter. So the manager, of course, is a direct report, among others, including myself and the commission auditor and others. In the context of qualifications under subsection 2, it specifically says the city manager shall have a baccalaureate degree and 3 years experience as a city manager or assistant city manager. So it's required that the proposed candidate must have a BA degree and 3 years, not or, but and 3 years experience. So just to clarify, that's the current provision in the section that the Vice Mayor is looking to change, is that section specifically 4.01 subsection 2.
All right, City Clerk, call the roll.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry.
if I may for a moment, so, and I don't know, I mean, you didn't make a motion, this is just discussion, possible action, or? And that's what the item says, so.
Yeah, I did not make a motion.
So I
You
again,
seconded it.
okay. So, again, I just want to reiterate, I still think that the restrictive language in the charter, if it's removed, achieves what you're looking for. And it also helps us determine what the future, or what the future leadership is going to be. I don't know of many government agencies that are restricted in any way of choosing their leader. I mean, we're also not allowing for some of the private sector talent to be considered as well. I mean, you have chief executive officers, chief operating officers, chief financial officers in some pretty big name cities or pretty big name companies that very well could be a very realistic application to this city. The city is not a small city anymore. We're approaching $500 million a year budget. And I think we need to remove all restrictions so that we can consider all potential applicants that are going to manage this city, because it's going to be that important for us. And so for me, I'm not supporting any additional language to the charter. I would support the removal of any restrictions from the charter. That's what I'll support.
All right, City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Can you read the item back, please, as to what it
It's the
what
item
was
in front
changed
of
to?
you. It's the item in front of you, Commissioner.
There was no language change on that, Mayor?
No,
Okay.
the item in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor and Commission, if I may quickly offer?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. If the Commission votes in connection with this addendum number 2, it'll require the drafting of an ordinance that would have to be considered by the Commission for first reading on the 18th of May, with a second and final reading on June the 1st, which is the first meeting in June. As we discussed during the visioning session last week, delivery of a referendum question and referendum ordinance would need to be submitted to the supervisor elections by June the 13th. That's the outside date for delivery. This provision that's offered by the Vice Mayor would include language in the last 3 sentences, I assume, of the addendum, which would add to the current charter, which we'd have to prepare by ordinance, include a minimum of 10 years of experience as a department supervisor or equivalent. That's the language before the Commission that would be directed for drafting.
Mayor, if I could have just one plea,
Sorry?
if I could just have just one moment. Colleagues, I want you to be able to think about this over the next 2 weeks, okay? Let the city attorney bring this back in 2 weeks. You can vote up or down on first reading. We can amend on first reading. But if we don't have this in 2 weeks, then we can't get it on anything on the ballot, whether it be Commissioner Good's language, the fully strike provision. We need to be able to have this in 2 weeks. So let's let's pass this, and then let's let's give it some thought.
The motion is in front of us. City Clerk, call the roll.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
No.
Commissioner Seifel?
No.
Commissioner Castillo?
No.
Mayor Ordus?
No.
Mr. Mayor, can I make another motion that we remove the restrictive qualification language from the charter?
Would that be appropriate, Vice City Attorney?
No.
It has to be advertised and all that, right?
We can't do it.
Mayor, if you will.
Go ahead.
The item is not before the commission this evening. It would be a bit of a stretch. Although it's on the same subject and matter, it is disconnected specifically from the main motion that was otherwise just failed by vote of the commission.
All right.
Mayor?
Yes?
Can we've taken our vote, but if I could, I'd like to bring up a point of order. And I understand the Vice Mayor's issue about the time frame for the election, though there really isn't a time frame for election because we can call an election at any time. But okay, but I understand that.
What's your point of order?
The agenda, what do you call these here? Excuse me. What do you call these add-ons?
Addendums.
Excuse me. Addendum agendas. There really needs to be some rules for this. We can't just be bringing on addendum agenda. And I can understand if you have an appointment to a committee or if the manager has an unforeseen contractual issue that has to be dealt with right away. And it's clearly understandable and it's not controversial. We just voted on a charter change, and I haven't had the opportunity to speak to anyone in my district about it. And that's a very serious matter. And so I'm not taking any shots at anyone. I'm just saying that for the good of the regular order, there's a reason the Sunshine Law exists to announce these things in advance, to give the public, not just us, the public an opportunity to deal with it. And I don't know if we need additional rules that govern addendum items. Maybe that's something we should look at. I'm okay looking at the subject matter that we've discussed, but this issue of just bringing up anything on addendum last minute, that's a bad way to do it.
Point of order, well taken. All right, let's go on to addendum 3. That's my item, a discussion with possible action to approve a full-page ad in the annual Unique Calm and Cultural Awards Program book in celebration of Caribbean American Heritage Month, June 2022, in the amount of $950.
Moved by Commissioner Seifel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Castillo. Discussion. Members of the public, seeing none, City Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Seifel?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ordus?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Before we go into our seating arrangement, I just wanted to say to our great Parks and Rec Director, Christine Sorensen, all the staff who made our 62nd birthday such a great deal. I mean, I'm still hearing things from people who have went to it that are just saying how colorful it was, how interactive it was to everyone. And I sat through that whole little princess thing. And in fact, the mother came to the Rose Price Park and the father about the ball fields. So great job. I've always said it, we get the credit, but you all do the work. And thank you. Okay.
Mayor, one of the big items was everybody talked about was the cupcake trees.
Oh, yeah.
I loved the cupcake trees. That was cool.
All right, Attorney the item on seating.
Yes, Mayor and Commission, if I may, just briefly, in recent days, this commission had its organizational meeting and a vice mayor was elected, Vice Mayor Schwartz. There's been some question raised in our office and with the city manager's office as recently as today regarding the seating arrangement on the current dais. I raise this only because it's been asked of us, the mayor and commission, to the manager and to me as the city attorney. As you know, this commission, its predecessor adopted ordinance number 1647. This commission took action on the 6th of April, publicly and by motion to reset the calculations with regarding to, the election of vice mayor. The order that was approved in my notes reflects the following arrangement, which is District 2, District 3, District 1, District 4, 2314, effective on and after April the 6th of 2022, which was the order that the commission, by majority vote and by unanimous vote, adopted at the time. There was no rotation of seats at the time, and as you know, this particular ordinance provides for a seating arrangement that follows the following order. Seat number 1 to my right is the city clerk. The next up is the city attorney, the city manager, the vice mayor, who would be Vice Mayor Schwartz, the mayor, the vice mayor designate, and then 2 city commission seats, seat number 7 and seat number 8. We've been asked some questions to the extent we have about the order being accurate or consistent with the ordinance under ordinance number 1647, which for the record was adopted in 2009. It's not a new document. It's been in place for some period of time. In responding to a commissioner who inquired of me and to the manager and the clerk who've asked the same question, there was a public official some years ago who said, I alone can fix things, or I can fix this. In the context of the legality of applying this ordinance, which is a rule of your order, I alone cannot fix this. And to the extent that if you are otherwise comfortable and legally satisfied with the current seating arrangement, then it would pertain from now going forward. If not, I'm happy to address any questions you might have. And to that extent, I raise the issue on the record this evening.
Mayor? Okay, Commissioner Castillo.
All right, let me begin by saying this is my favorite seat, the one I'm in, because I get to see all of you without having to turn around this way or that way, it's my favorite seat. All the more the point. The reason we went to this ordinance years ago was because we had a commissioner who we all loved, who didn't want to move. He liked his seat. And this created tension on the commission, as did the uncomfortable process of having to pick vice mayors outside of a rotation. So I was newly elected at the time. Maybe I was here a year. I don't know. I thought about how people rotate in volleyball. You know how it's very simple. And for I don't know, as many years as we did it, before there was a change in the rotation, it worked just fine. And the way it works is when the vice mayor's done, they sit in that seat. And then from there, the vice mayor designate sits in this seat. And then the next year, they move into the seat that Commissioner Seipel is in right now. Commissioner Seipel is properly seated because in the rotation, she's next to be vice mayor under the ordinance. But the way that we're seated right now is not together with the ordinance. And I understand that the vice mayor designate, I love this seat, by the way. I understand that the vice mayor designate has the right, by having been the last vice mayor, to sit there. But by doing that, the seating order, which mirrors the rotation, is off. I simply pointed that out. And it's a fact. The rotation is off. So either we want to follow the ordinance or we don't. I, myself, am not looking to make a big deal about it. I'm just saying it's the law. And if we want to go back to what the ordinance says, which was the sense I got at the last meeting, then the seating rotation should follow. And that's it. I brought that up to staff. They got very nervous because they didn't say it this way, but they got very nervous about how you all would react to this. And they said, oh, no, this has to be a discussion on the dais. And I said, trust me, we have many more important things to discuss than where people sit, except it's the law. So it's up to you.
All right. I'm comfortable the way the rotation is done. We discussed it at the last meeting. I'm comfortable with it. Anybody else want to discuss it? I am.
even if it doesn't satisfy the law.
Well, I think it satisfies, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it.
No, it doesn't satisfy.
Well, I go
just
by the
explained it
city
to you.
attorney, Commissioner.
Okay,
I think
yes.
you just said that. Anybody else have a comment?
Can I hear this again?
Sure.
Follow the law?
As, if I may, Mr. Mayor, this provision of the city code is in your total control. This does not affect the buying of equipment or the buying or hiring of vendors or following the CCNA. This is really something much like Congress, much like the State House and Senate. The rules that regulate your membership on the dais and how you regulate yourselves is something that's totally in your hands. The manager and I, although direct reports to you, don't get to dictate that answer. So, for example, in the last 4 years, where there's been discussion on the record, this commission has taken a public position of applying in its best discretion how best to appoint a vice mayor. The results of which are, for example, occurred during the organizational meeting last up, where the vice mayor became the vice mayor, Vice Mayor Schwartz. There's a corollary to that, which is a seating arrangement. To the extent that this commission also controls and interprets those issues, it is something which cannot be controlled by the manager or by the attorney. And I believe you have that discretion to look at and to follow the statute, the ordinance, in the context of how it applies to you as a body. And as a body, by motion, you can make those decisions. I raise it only because staff has now asked us, the clerk has asked us, the clerk was unsure about this issue. And the only way to obviously have this discussion, unfortunately or fortunately, is in a public forum. It cannot be done privately, and there can be no votes taken in a private sector context, nor can the manager make that change. So,
Mr. Good?
I just want to know, are we following the law or no?
to the extent that this commission is following its application of the law, that's what you have been asked to do. If you are following the application of that law, then you are.
Right.
Unless there's
Further
another-
discussion? All right, thank
I
you
really
all.
don't care where I sit.
I don't care either.
Okay.
I like this seat only because it's better than the vice mayor seat, because the dang
Mike over there don't work too well.
You're right. Well, we have a
Fix
rotation,
himself next year
we have a
anyhow, so
rotation
I don't-
we've had for 25 years I've been elected. All right. Thank you all. Motion to adjourn.
All righty.
Good night.
Oh, hello. Get up.